Welcome to Reddit Echoes, the place where the wildest corners of Reddit come to life. Today we've got a lineup of stories that swing from heartbreaking to outrageous, from morally gray to completely unhinged. We've got parents snapping stepmoms, scheming siblings, fighting, and families pushing each other right to the edge. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into the chaos, because trust me, these stories get intense. Story 1. Am I the butthole for supporting my friend who killed a man? Let me start with this. I never expected my name to be anywhere near a story involving murder. I live a quiet life. My biggest drama last year was arguing with a cashier about a mislabeled price tag. But here I am, trying to process the fact that someone I know, someone I've joked with, grabbed coffee with, exchanged memes with, ended up shooting a man in the face. Jeff and I went to college together about 12 years ago. We weren't best friends, but we always kept in touch. He's one of those people who shows up in your life just enough to remind you that decent human beings still exist. He worked at my doctor's office, so every few months I'd see him catch up a bit. Talk about family, complain about bills, normal stuff. And that's exactly why what happened hit me like a truck. 5 months ago, Jeff was arrested for murder. When I first heard, I thought it had to be a mistake. Jeff murder. That's like hearing your accountant robbed a casino. It just didn't line up. But then the details came out. Jeff has a 6-year-old daughter. Sweet kid, very shy, always had a little plastic crown on her head every time I saw her. Jeff's sister babysat her while he worked because daycare prices are ridiculous and family is family. Or at least that's what Jeff believed. Turns out his sister's boyfriend, this absolute garbage excuse for a human, was assaulting Jeff's daughter during those babysitting hours. The man was grooming her, threatening her, manipulating her. Jeff had no idea until the little girl finally broke down and told him. A 6-year-old. Telling her dad something no child should ever have to say. Jeff described the moment to me later during a phone call from prison. He said he felt like his soul exited his body. He said everything went muffled like he was underwater. He wasn't thinking about laws or consequences or anything except this single overwhelming instinct, protect my daughter. Within minutes, he called his sister. He kept his voice totally calm, too calm, and told her to send her boyfriend outside because Jeff was returning his daughter's Nintendo Switch. That was the bait. The moment the boyfriend stepped into the alley behind the apartment building, Jeff shot him once in the face. No hesitation, no warning. One shot, and it was over. Jeff didn't flee. He called 911 himself and waited for police to arrive. He confessed, surrendered, and asked to call a lawyer. He told me later I knew I was going to prison. I knew it the second my finger pulled the trigger. But I also knew I'd never forgive myself if I didn't stop him. He is now 5 years into a 12-year sentence, and here's where I come in. I support Jeff, not because I think murder is a good answer to anything, not because I want chaos or vigilante justice, but because I genuinely believe Jeff snapped in a moment of pure, primal parental instinct. I don't see evil in what he did. I see horror desperation, and a father doing what he thought necessary when the system had no chance to intervene in time. But apparently, that makes me immoral. My friend group has split cleanly down the middle. 2 of my friends agree with me. They say they don't condone the action, but they understand the rage. But the other 6, oh boy. One friend said my moral compass is broken beyond repair. Another said anyone who supports a murderer is basically a murderer at heart. The religious one told me Jeff is absolutely going to hell, and if I defend him, I might be heading there too. They keep repeating the same line, murder is wrong no matter what. 2 wrongs don't make a right. You can't justify killing someone even if they're a monster. And look, I understand their viewpoint in theory. In theory, society should handle justice. In theory, no one should take the law into their own hands. In theory, we should all remain calm and rational and let the authorities do their jobs. But theory goes out the window when your child is hurt. When your 6-year-old looks up at you with tears in her eyes and tells you something that shatters your entire world. Yeah, I think a lot of people would lose their grip on rationality. So now I'm here being told by half my friend group that supporting Jeff makes me a terrible human being. And honestly, I'm struggling with whether I should feel guilty about not condemning him. Story 2. Am I the butthole for rolling my eyes at my ex's wife when she asked me for compassion? I honestly didn't think something as simple as rolling my eyes could explode into this level of drama, but apparently here we are. So for context, I'm a 33-year-old woman. I share 2 kids with my ex, an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old. Their dad and I weren't married, but our breakup was completely amicable. We co-parented really well for a couple of years. Honestly, I thought we had cracked the code for peaceful shared parenting. Then, he met his wife, and everything shifted so fast, it gave me whiplash. The very first time I met her, she smiled, stuck out her hand, and called me the kid's other mom. She said it casually, like it was the most natural thing ever. I looked her straight in the eye and told her, "No, I'm the mom." The temperature in the room dropped. She did not like that. From that moment on, she made it painfully clear that she didn't like me, didn't respect me, and absolutely hated the fact that my ex and I could communicate without hostility. She started referring to them as her boys, even when talking to me. She called herself a boy mom again while talking to me. She would glare at me like I'd personally insulted her existence just by breathing. Then came the control attempts. She told me that from now on, all communication regarding the kids had to go through her, not my ex. I refused, obviously. Her response: "You don't have the right to ignore me." Oh, but she wasn't done. Not even close. If she and my ex took the boys out for a day, she'd send me 3 to 5 photos every time, with captions like, "Great day with my husband and my children." That one really got me. I actually kept the screenshots because her attitude was so bizarre. When I talked to my ex about it, he brushed everything off. "She's just insecure," he said. "You're big enough to let this go." Right in the middle of that conversation, she texted me, "You have no right to discuss my children with my husband." I showed him the message. He still defended her. And this was the beginning of the end for our easy co-parenting. Her behavior got worse. She tried to get herself added to the school pickup list. She tried to change the kids' pediatrician. She tried to take them out of state to visit her relatives. Every time she didn't get her way, she'd blow up. She would introduce herself as the kids' mom at parent-teacher meetings. She showed up to medical appointments insisting she speak on their behalf. She acted like I didn't exist. We ended up back in court. Twice. Both times the judge told her very plainly that she was not the mother and that she had no right to impersonate me in educational or medical settings. The judge even warned them against alienation. She tried to argue that I was the one alienating the kids because they didn't call her mom. The judge asked for evidence. She had none. Eventually, because of her behavior, she was restricted from doing certain parental tasks, and honestly, life got quieter once she was forced to back off. Fast forward to now. My ex recently told me the boys have been struggling in therapy because they don't like her. I knew a bit about that, but apparently it's worse than he let on. She also learned she can't have biological kids, and they were rejected from adoption. Their marriage has been under stress, and she's been taking it out on everyone. None of this is my business, or at least it shouldn't have been. But then she showed up at my front door. No warning, no text, no heads up. Just knocked on my door and unloaded everything: her infertility, the adoption rejection, the boys not bonding with her, her insecurities, her fears, her frustrations. I won't lie. I almost closed the door in her face. She noticed, but she just kept talking. And then she said, "You need to have compassion for me. As their other mother, you should be helping me." That's when I rolled my eyes. Hard. Like Olympic-level eye roll. I didn't even try to hide it. I had zero sympathy for her. After everything she's done to undermine me, disrespect me, and try to replace me, she was now demanding emotional support from me? Absolutely not. She got angry. We argued. I told her to leave. She insulted me all the way down my front path. Later that night, she sent 10 texts in a row, and my ex said I owed her an apology for hurting her feelings. So now I'm here wondering if rolling my eyes at a woman who's been passive-aggressive for years somehow makes me the bad guy. Story 3. Am I the butthole for making my sister pay back my daughter after her kid destroyed her book collection? This story still makes my blood pressure spike every time I think about it, so buckle up. I'm a 42-year-old mom, and my daughter Brooke is 16. Brooke is a reader, like hardcore. She's been devouring books since she was 5, and every bit of allowance she's saved over the years has gone into building a collection she's really proud of. And when I say collection, I don't mean a couple of paperbacks from the grocery store. I mean limited editions, special releases, signed copies, books she camped online for books she waited months to pre-order. It's a library a lot of adults would envy. Recently, she finally saved enough to buy a special edition of a book she already owned, something she'd been waiting forever to get her hands on. When it arrived, she practically floated around the house for an hour. That's how much it meant to her. So naturally, this is the book that gets destroyed. My sister Lindsay, who's 36, came over last Saturday with her daughter Mariah, who's 13. We hadn't seen each other in a while, so we were just chatting and catching up in the living room. Mariah headed toward Brooke's room, and I immediately stopped her. Brooke wasn't home yet, and I told Mariah she needed to wait in the living room. She didn't complain. She just said she needed to use the bathroom. We have 2 bathrooms, and the downstairs one was broken, so I told her she could use the one upstairs. Fine, no problem. About 10 minutes later, Brooke came home, said a quick hi, and ran upstairs to change. Not even 5 minutes passed before we heard her scream. I sprinted upstairs, thinking she'd fallen or something awful had happened. And honestly, what I saw made my heart sink. Her room looked like a paper shredder had exploded. Pages were everywhere, literally raining off her bookshelf. Covers bent, spines snapped. The special edition book she'd been so excited about was ripped nearly in half. And Brooke, my quiet, conflict-avoidant daughter, was standing there, sobbing. Mariah was in the corner of the room looking guilty, but not nearly guilty enough for what she'd done. Brooke couldn't even get words out, so I stepped in. I told Mariah to apologize. I told her she needed to clean up the mess. And I told her she was no longer welcome in my house. Then I turned to Lindsay, the adult, the parent, the person who should understand consequences, and told her she needed to reimburse Brooke for the destroyed books. Not some of them, all of them. The moment those words came out of my mouth, Lindsay acted like I'd asked her for a kidney. She said Mariah was just a kid. She said Mariah didn't know what she was doing. She said Brooke shouldn't have left her books out if she didn't want them touched. And that's when I lost my composure. The books weren't out. They were on shelves and inside Brooke's room, where Mariah was specifically told not to go unless Brooke was home. My sister refused to take responsibility. She refused to apologize. She refused to pay. And then she called me greedy. She gathered Mariah and stormed out like I was the unreasonable one. Later, when I told my husband about it, he was fully on my side. He agreed Lindsay needed to pay for the books, especially since many of them were special or limited editions and couldn't be replaced. But now my side of the family is acting like I'm a monster. That's too harsh. She's just a child. You're blowing things out of proportion. Except Mariah isn't 5 years old. She's 13. She knows right from wrong. And here's the part I didn't even know until after the fact. Last year, Brooke let Mariah borrow 2 books. Mariah returned them damaged, nothing as bad as this, but still noticeably ruined. Brooke told her she couldn't borrow books anymore, and Mariah threw a fit. Ever since then, she's been bitter that Brooke wouldn't let her near her collection. So, yeah, this wasn't an accident. This was revenge. And for some reason, I'm the one being criticized for wanting my daughter's property reimbursed. Story 4. Am I the butthole for telling my wife to divorce me because I refuse to force my daughter into being adopted? This story is messy and personal, and honestly, it still stings to talk about. But I need an outside perspective because everything feels upside down right now. I'm a 33-year-old father, and I have an 8-year-old daughter named Ella from a previous relationship. Her mom, my ex, is a disaster. I'm not saying that to be cruel. It's just the truth. She's struggled with alcohol, drugs, multiple arrests. She's been in and out of hospitals, rehab, and courtrooms. For the past year, she hasn't seen Ella at all. Even when supervised visits were ordered, she barely showed up. Despite all of that, Ella still loves her. She still wants her mom to get better. And as heartbreaking as that is, I don't blame her. Kids don't stop loving their parents just because their parents fall apart. When I met my current wife, Laura, Ella was 2. Laura has been in Ella's life for years, and she does love her. I truly believe that. And for the most part, our relationship has been solid. I made it clear from the beginning that Ella's safety, health, and happiness would always come first. Laura agreed. She knew exactly what she was getting into, or at least she said she did. But lately, Laura has been overwhelmed by the fact that my ex pops in and out of the picture unpredictably. She hates the emotional roller coaster. She hates the idea that Ella still wants her biological mom. She hates that no matter how much she loves Ella, Ella won't call her mom. And then Laura came up with a solution, one she refuses to back down from. She wants to adopt Ella. Not because she wants to replace my ex lovingly, but because she wants the courts to sever my ex's parental rights permanently so my ex can never show up again. And Ella said no, clearly, firmly, repeatedly. Ella doesn't want to be adopted, even if her mom never gets better, even if she stays out of the picture forever. She isn't ready to give up hope. I respect that. She's 8, but she understands exactly what adoption means. And I refuse, absolutely refuse, to force her into something that feels like erasing her mother. Laura did not like that answer. She told me that we have other kids to think about, meaning our 2 children together. She said Ella might pull away from the family in the future if her biological mom causes more chaos. She said adopting Ella is the only way to protect our home. I told her adoption won't magically fix the emotional wounds Ella already has. It won't erase her love for her mom. And forcing it, that would destroy her trust in us. We've had this argument at least 10 times now. And then 2 nights ago, Laura gave me an ultimatum. She said, "You have 2 options. Convince Ella to let me adopt her, or find a therapist who will convince her, because I will not keep being just the stepmom while her mother keeps hurting her and gets to keep her title. And if you won't choose one of those options, then our marriage won't survive." I just stared at her. She actually expected me to manipulate my daughter or hire someone else to break her emotionally for her own benefit. So I told her the truth. Then divorce me. Laura froze. She looked completely shocked, like I had blindsided her. She said she thought I'd at least offer to talk Ella into reconsidering. She said, I clearly didn't care about our marriage, but she's the one who put a gun to it and handed me two impossible choices. I told her exactly that. I said, one option is impossible. One is unethical. You're the one threatening divorce, not me. I'm just accepting the reality you laid out. So now I'm here wondering if I really am the butthole for choosing my daughter over my wife. Was I wrong to draw the line? And that wraps up today's journey through the emotional roller coaster that is Am I the Asshole? From parents defending their kids to stepmoms battling insecurities and siblings destroying what isn't theirs, one thing is clear. Reddit never disappoints. If you enjoyed these stories, make sure to like, subscribe, and stick around because we dig up new Reddit drama every single day here on Reddit Echoes. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.